morning. So I am back to vlogging my triathlon journey, and this time we are training for a full Ironman. And thankfully today I actually have the day off work. It is a holiday, so had a very slow start to the day, had some breakfast, and now I'm just about to head out to do an interval run. It's not going to be a super intense one. Overall, it's about an hour with a few pickups here and there, and it's a beautiful day out, so I'm quite excited to get out there, although a bit chilly. So as you can see, I'm wearing a long sleeve, I'm wearing a vest to stay warm, but you can't really see, but if I jump, I guess I could have done this, but you can see I'm wearing shorts. I'm a little bit nervous because since I did my 3K time trial the other day, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't that great either. I started out way too fast. I think the speed is there. Obviously, it's just a matter of time that I can improve it even more. I need to get back into using my gears properly. Could gas out towards the end, and I couldn't even do that last push. Don't think I executed that well. I'm pretty good with doing negative splits, but this one was definitely a positive one. At least I got a benchmark, know where I'm at, so I know how I can improve from here on out. Since I did my 3K time trial the other day, my paces have gone up, so hopefully I don't die. The sprint portions of my intervals aren't super long. It's, I think, at most a minute or 45 seconds. So it should be good. I'm trying to have more of a positive mindset, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so I'm not gonna waste any more time. It's currently 9:30 and I wanna get this over and done with. I think I'm regretting wearing this vest. I feel like I'm overheating and I haven't even started the workout yet. I'm still doing my warm-up. Oh my gosh. These updated paces, man. Even if it's just for a minute, it hurts. So today's interval run went fairly well. So it hurt quite a bit when I had to pick up the pace. However, I did feel really strong. Thankfully, the intervals weren't that long. The most I had to run was for a minute, and then I had quite a long recovery in between. I think 2 to 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So I had quite a bit of time to catch my breath and then go hard again. So hopefully that'll help build my VO2 max, and then I'll be able to start building on that when I start to work on longer efforts like tempo and all that fun stuff when it goes to endurance running. So now that I've gotten my workouts done, I'm now looking at the rest of the week. I actually was supposed to go swimming today, but that's gonna get pushed. I'm really hoping I am able to fit in a swim session sometime this week. If you've been following me on my socials, you know that I haven't really been swimming lately. It's just, again, one of those things that if you stop doing it, it's kind of hard to pick back up. I'm really hoping I can get it done this week. It's just one time, just once, and then I'll be able to build that momentum. But yeah, getting back into it is just so much harder than running and biking. That being said, I do have to go into the office tomorrow, so there's a lot of prep that I need to do in terms of getting ready for the week ahead. I actually, not only did I have today off, I had yesterday off as well, so I'm kind of feeling a little bit of the Sunday scaries, not gonna lie, because it's been a while since I was working. I do want to talk about my goals for next year, because I guess I didn't really touch on it in my last video when I shared that I was doing my first full Ironman next year and then also doing 70.3 Oregon again. I think the biggest thing I need to work on is the bike. It is the weakest discipline for me, so I really need to make sure I'm increasing that time on the saddle. Currently, I am biking 3 times a week, so just kind of staying on top of that base training for biking, and then hopefully I can build on that in the new year. I do want to get a personal best on the bike section of Oregon, just because that was a very friendly bike course, and I think I can do a lot better. So I really want to try and hone in on my cycling and see where that takes me, and then hopefully that'll be strong enough to survive 180 kilometers in the full Ironman. So the next thing that I want to work on for 2026 is my mental strength. This year specifically has kind of been tough, just because a lot of life things had happened, but there were quite a few times where I would just get myself in this negative spiral and negative thought process and really just criticize myself so harsh that like I started to lose belief in myself. So I'm trying to get back onto that like positive talk, improving my overall self-esteem. I think I shared this in a previous video before, that I do track my workouts in this, and this is mainly to track like my thought process, where my mindset is at. Sometimes I'll just talk negative to myself, and then that will just kind of manifest and just kind of start snowballing into the next workout. So I'm hoping to just like jot everything down and just kind of train myself to be more confident, be more positive. And then if I do have negative thoughts, or if I'm logging that, and when I reflect on a weekly basis, I can be like, oh, okay, something needs to change. Why am I feeling a certain way? And just kind of see where those patterns are at. If it's negative, I can change a few things to just kind of reset myself. It wasn't just about, tracking how I felt in the workout, but also what I was thinking. And so it is a little bit of a journal per se, because I kind of talk about not just about the workout. I put in mantras for my workout. So whatever I want to tell myself, to pump myself up for the workout. I also include like an intention of the workout. So that way, again, I am kind of priming myself to say, hey, you can do hard things, you can do this. And then hopefully, that kind of builds the momentum for next year. And so if something goes awry, I can kind of adapt and shift my perspective, and then not kind of fall into that negative spiral like I did this year. Another thing that I am consciously tracking as well is my recovery. I have noticed that while I'm really good at the workout portion and the physical training, the recovery aspect of it isn't so great. So I'm also intentionally tracking that on my planner, what I'm doing to help recover mentally, drawing those boundaries from work, from negative people, etc. So included in the planner, I also have like recovery goals, kind of like mini goals per day. So for example, like a transition ritual from work to make sure that I'm shutting down and letting go from work. Or another recovery goal would be a screen-free evening. And then I kind of have that like good slow down before I go to bed to help calm my body and my mind. And then another thing that I have been tracking, not on this, just because I find it easier with the apps with all the food and whatnot, is nutrition. It has been pretty bad lately. I actually started tracking my food recently when I started my training back up, and realized I have been under fueling. Like, it has been really bad, especially with my carbs and my protein. And on top of that, I wasn't eating like the right food. Not gonna lie, I'm quite the junk food monster. So I'm trying to kind of shift it so that way I'm not always eating overly processed food. I'm not like restricting, the types of carbs that I eat. But even when it comes to like processed carbs, I'm also not eating enough of that, especially when it comes to hard training days. Like when I have my strength stacked on top of like interval rides or interval runs, like protein and carbs are super, super key. And just my overall caloric intake hasn't been high enough. So I started tracking for that purpose, to make sure, hey, am I actually eating enough of that? So I've started tracking my food, not just because like I'm cutting down or anything, but because I actually need to up the amount of food that I'm eating. So it's kind of been brutal. It is a work in progress, so I'm hoping to improve on that. But yeah, the nutrition and recovery aspects of this is going to be super important, because I know it's going to play a huge role when I start ramping up for a full-on Ironman training. Now, speaking of nutrition and fueling, I am running low on food. So later today, Keenan and I are actually going to do a grocery run, so that way we can get all the food we need, not just for dinner, but for the rest of the week.